Hey everyone, it's me Charlie here, welcome back. Adventure Time is a show that wallows in absurdity, constantly towing the line of surrealism, and is often just plain weird. Some of the show's greatest, heaviest emotional moments are drenched in and complemented by Adventure Time's constant state of war between its bizarre, unconventional approach to visuals and narrative structure, and the show's sincerity in regards to its profound depictions of growing up, the wants and desires of its characters, confusion over personal identity and complex relationships, romantic, platonic, and familial, grappling with loss and tragedy, and other aspects of the human condition, driven by a largely progressive ethos. These elements are married so perfectly with the show's narrative arcs and compelling, nuanced, and distinct cast of characters, and are a large part of what makes the show so captivating for so many people of any age, with great attention to its themes of grappling with maturity, and ultimately presenting a celebration of life, and truly embodies contrast to do so. The show has this weird ability to draw you into these worlds and strangely forces you to accept the reality of any given situation. It really does embody its name in every single episode, being nothing short of a consistent adventure, yes. There's definitely a bit of a sense in which prolonged exposure leads to you being slightly desensitized to the true ridiculousness of this show as you accept more and more aspects of it. Even now, if you're particularly familiar with the show's world, cast of characters, and events, it might require some active mental exertion to step back and reflect upon its consistent, crazy elements, be it a belly button fear demon, sentient morally grey bubblegum dictators, magical extremity amalgamates, gold hoarding cloth monsters that so happen to appear like a bizarro, twisted evil version of a member of the main cast, controlled by a spiky person. The actual canonical name of these things is race.
It's got Grinder's belly!
Let's get our gold back! What the? Sharon? What are you doing in the gut grinder? That's the mayor's wife!
Romantic relationships with anthropomorphic bee Power Rangers, rainbow/unicorn hybrids that can fly, have a deeply bloodied history with dogs, including a warlike conflict over territory, and speak Korean in an otherwise entirely English-speaking show with zero subtitles. What? Just to name a few. Like literally 6 examples in a nearly 300 total episode show. You can definitely see how Adventure Time reflects the era that it was one way or another born out of, that being the mid-2000s internet random style of humor, fostered by in particular animations in places such as Newgrounds or E-Bomb's World. As a kid watching this show, being accustomed to the bright colors and vibrant landscapes that typically accompany kids shows now, as well as having a particularly active and open to suggestion imagination, Adventure Time is far more digestible at face value in this regard at least. But even as a kid, I was presented with many a scene that left me seriously confused, that struck me as distinctly different from other shows I was watching. One of these moments that always stuck with me was the first time I watched the end of the season 1 episode Tree Trunks, which is literally the 4th episode of the show, when this happens.
You heard the Guardian, TT! Bite that thing!
Okay. Woo! How's it taste, Tree Trunks?
Yeah, how is it?
Oh.
Come along with me.
Yeah, season 1 in particular really kind of draws you in with this false sense of security. Most of it's pretty grounded, relatively, in setting and reality, as the creators sort of begin to set the scene and groundwork that will dictate the direction the rest of the show will inevitably go in and explore. But even there's moments like these where the show's true colors shine through, because to be clear, Adventure Time as a show is absolutely insane, weird, but in a cool way, pretty much the whole way through. The second it's got you feeling even a tiny bit comfortable, Adventure Time only throws you back into the ocean of what the hell is even happening right now, experimenting with breaking the show's own structure and format, throwing the most truly whack concepts to the wall and seeing which ones stick, and somehow most of them do. You can see how this show has been undoubtedly ludicrous from its very inception in 2010. This, however, is nowhere near the peak of this show's weirdness, which leads us to today's video. At the beginning of this year, I decided that I was going to, all these years later, revisit Adventure Time and rewatch the show in its entirety from beginning to end for the first time. Because as a kid, you really don't watch this sort of stuff chronologically or in its entirety ever, in any case. At long last, a few months ago, I finally watched the final episode and was able to what felt like fill a gap in my childhood in some sense, sort of completing what we started when our parents brought home a season 1 DVD of this show nearly 10 years ago now. There's truly so much to say about this show, as many already have, but today I want to highlight some of my personal standout moments in the episodes that are, in my opinion, the most ridiculous and just simply insane in the most beautiful Adventure Timey way possible. These are not really meant to be organized in any particular order, except for the last one, because no spoilers. It is by far the most unhinged, in my opinion. Spoilers ahead. Obviously, watch the show legally if you can. I definitely did. Yep, for sure. Prismo enjoyers, scared it.
Let's go in the garden. You'll find something waiting.
Were this a list, this episode would be probably earlier on in terms of strangeness, as it's at least based on somewhat of a clear premise that's followable from start to end. It's strange, but in a way that doesn't feel super Adventure Time to me. It doesn't really flow super well, and personally it wasn't an episode that I super enjoyed, but it is no doubt undeniably bizarre. In short, the Ice King makes a computer virus that makes the user subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video, which is causing the entire universe to glitch somehow. Isn't that weird? It starts off in a really weird place with this video of some lady gagging on her own hair. It's really just disgusting imagery.
Sorry, dude, you ruined it.
Man, I don't have the patience for this animation junk. Whoever does this must have no life whatsoever. Oof! Why did I do that?
To skip forward a lot and just save you a lot of time, trust me, Finn later defeats the glitch by making it vomit out the source code of the universe by eating his own hair in front of it. Cause sure, a glitch is a glitch to me, feels kind of nonsensical, a bit of a diversion from the main Adventure Time show and what it's usually about, with stuff blipping in and out of existence over the course of the episode. It's not super meaningful in terms of message or overall story, and it doesn't really obviously contribute much to the development of any characters, and as a standalone story, it's not super compelling like other great episodes of the show are that aren't plot relevant. While it may not have really worked, for me, it was definitely a strange experience and deserves a mention, being extremely odd at the very least. This mainly driven by the fact that it was a guest animated episode, which sort of explains a lot of the issues I had with it, but also contributes largely to why it is so weird to look at. I did like this bit though.
Useless! Computer! You sassafrassin!
Sheesh!
To explain this next one, I think I'm just gonna kind of read you the Wikipedia-esque synopsis here, because it's a lot to get into. When Jake eats the last pickle Prismo gave him, things start getting weird. From Finn's perspective, Jake is reliving past experiences like the Making Bacon Pancakes song, as we all know and love, before exploding and disappearing. From Jake's perspective, he is trapped in Prismo's lair, and he keeps getting shown reruns of the past, complete with alternate selves, dream states, and bonds between bros. Is That You finds a way to bring back Prismo.
Oh, dang, I'm back.
There's a lot of background to tackle when it comes to this episode for anything to make sense whatsoever. Prismo is a pretty deep in the source kind of character, I feel, but that is truly the least of your worries when it comes to this episode. Not only is That You pretty difficult to wrap your head around in general, it's also one of the most important episodes in season 6 plot-wise in regards to everything to do with the Finn sword and subsequently Fern, which is a lot. The episode starts with Finn and Jake performing a ceremony for Prismo after he was killed by the Lich, show's main antagonist, earlier in Wake Up, as they should, put some respect on his name, dancing around his pickle jar, because obviously the everything burrito is mentioned. Jake explodes 4 times.
Whoa, Finn, how'd you get over there? No, I'm showing this.
Jake casually being in this weird different dimension where alive Prismo is just sort of chilling post-murder. Some confusing time travel stuff where Prismo is technically still dead, but is talking to them from the past to help them revive him, supposedly, but he can still see them somehow. It's a very active memory, I must say. Have I lost you yet? Because this episode definitely lost me already when I first saw it. If you ever thought Adventure Time was just a two-dimensional show for children, you can clearly see that was very incorrect. I don't know what kid would ever be expected to understand this. Prismo tells Finn that he has to wake up Jake, but then a different Prismo tells Finn that he needs to stop his other self from waking Jake up. Yes, we end up with multiple Prismos and multiple Finns. Try and keep up, alright? Soon the real Finn tries to stop the other Finn from waking the alternate reality Jake, and as soon as the other Finn goes to wake up the sleeping Jake, the real Finn comes up behind him and stops him, making him explode and turn into the Finn sword. Finn takes that sword, as that sword is made up of his alternate reality self, and then the episode reaches its end, as Jake and Finn welcome Prismo back, and the alternate reality of Jake changes into the old man Prismo. Because if you didn't know already, Prismo is this creature who's born out of this old guy's, like, sleeping subconscious mind. Ambitiously convoluted is how I would describe this one. This ain't no BMO noir, okay? Great episode, by the way. You've definitely got to be paying just a little bit more attention for this one, because not a lot of what is happening is inherently explained. Watching the episode, it's definitely very easy to leave with just a lot of questions. I know I sure did.
Heading towards their destiny, I'm sure they'll figure something out.
To describe this one in short, Finn and Jake are plagued with the presence of this poor, unloved sea lard, which they then try and get rid of by dumping him in a pond outside of their treehouse. Shelby, the worm, everyone's favorite recurring character, crawls out of Finn's armpit and warns them that sea lards are saltwater fish, whereas the pond is freshwater. I honestly didn't know this thing was a fish at all, not gonna lie. Chasing after this terribly mistreated lard, they go through a narrow opening / tunnel thing at the bottom of this deceptively deep pond and experience a bit of an Alice in Wonderland moment. They first meet these mermaids in a grotto who tell them that apparently sea lards are actually mammals. I don't know what to believe. Then there's this swirly portal thing that the lard has dived into, of course. Before Finn and Jake follow him, the mermaids frantically warn them not to touch the purple things. Some classically unhelpful advice there. Our main duo dive into the portal, at which point they enter this different animation style, upside down type universe where the colors are switched, and along the way we run into some strange iterations of the main cast. A Lady Rainicorn-esque butterfly, Leaf Marceline the Vampire Queen, Princess Purple Patch, who's supposed to be the Ice King, and of course at some point, looking for the evasive lard, they touch some of this purple stuff, and then things really start to go down the drain.
Oh, you want purple? Here, take some for the road. Oh dear, I've purpled you. Why do I always do this?
Later. What a great gal.
Yeah. Who are we?
I don't know, man, but I like these things.
Hello. Are you a lost dog? I am Boy.
Maybe?
We are Boy and Dog.
I'm petting the ground, boy.
Boy and Dog venture forth and they encounter Bush Boots, the little apricot anteater, who is supposed to be Tree Trunks, shockingly, who is honestly a weird enough character as it is, without this upside down bizarro layer. There's a lot to get into with her, who is looking for her lost rolling pin, which turns out to actually be the lard, conveniently. But Finn and Jake, due to their contact with the purple stuff, have begun to forget who they even are or what they're doing here at all. I mean, can we really expect them to remember that they're looking for the lard when they don't even remember their names? Can you really blame them at this point? If only those mermaids had been a little bit more specific. BMO, that's 2 E's Mo, shows up, who I'm sure you can guess represents our robot friend. This is possibly the most what am I watching moment of the episode, where BMO starts delivering poetry to guide Dog and Boy, I guess.
A poem by me. Listen for a sound and look around. Unless egress is sought, smiles will be not found. It's a metaphor.
It's very, very odd. Eventually they make their way back to the swirly purple thing, at which point the portal thing, which is apparently sentient now for some reason, is beckoning to Finn and Jake. Our hero, Sea Lard, saves the day by pushing them all in. Thankfully, the episode ends with the lard being tucked into bed after receiving the apology that it deserved. This is one of those Adventure Time episodes that truly demonstrates why so many people call this show trippy and associate it with drug-taking experiences. I think once again, the guest animation here truly makes this one as slightly disturbing as it is, and this is not the last time we'll be seeing guest animation appearing on this list. Spoilers.
I've always felt like a monster, long before I was big. But only
Another season 6 episode. They really must have been on a bit of a run with particular ridiculousness in this stint of the show. This one stars this guy.
Unacceptable!
And Finn going on a deeply personal, internal, self-introspective, surreal voyage through the Mountain of Matthew. The episode opens on Lemon Grab, reinforcing once again his truly horrible and cruel ruling over his people in Castle Lemon Grab, easily considered torture in a lot of places. Finn and Jake in this episode are on this noble quest to seek out something called the Dap of the Heavens, which is such a beautifully Adventure Time-y idea that is just so dumb. In a truly endearing way, they come across the Mountain of Matthew. Lemon Grab also turns up. Jake is told by the Guardian of the Mountain that he has no beeswax in the Mountain of Matthew, but that Finn has, quote, way cray beeswax, which is the show's justification of why Jake doesn't join them on this adventure. But on the whole, this episode actually is a really cool dive into the character of Lemon Grab, his desires, fears, and ultimate motivations as he goes through this weird mind journey through this mountain. It's actually really sick from a writing perspective, and the way that the ideas of the show are portrayed through the visuals in particular. It is definitely no less weird though.
Here's my other option. You see these? Lemon Johns?
Uh-oh.
These Lemon Johns are me, and I wonder if they can destroy you.
You boy.
If you are the head that floats atop the ziggurat, then the stairs that lead to you must be infinite.
Careful with those metaphors, bro.
Infinite stairs are unacceptable!
There's this guy named Matthew. Lemon Grab yells at him a bit. He falls to the ground, explodes, and in his place there are like nearly 15 creatures wearing robes. Really, do I need to say anything more about this episode? Honestly.
Yo! Smash that Lemon Grab!
There's no doubt some much intricate, crazy symbolic stuff happening within this imagery, as well as the name of Matthew holding biblical connotations, as well as some foreshadowing in there of Finn losing his arm later in the show, a lot of times. And there's actually a lot of references to philosophical concepts, particularly thelemic mysticism, apparently. You can read about all of this in much deeper dives on other places online, such as the Adventure Time fandom wiki. But for this case, it's definitely one of the most bizarre Adventure Time episodes out there.
On a tropical island, underneath a molten...
Before we get to our final episode, I thought it would make sense to throw in some honorable mentions here. High Strangeness. It's literally in the name of the episode, starring Tree Trunks once again, and this weird alien offshoot Candy Kingdom thing. And it also ends like this.
Oh, hello, darling.
Hello.
You can talk?
Yeah, there are websites that teach you. I wanted to tell you that I did what you said. We're going to fly Princess Bubblegum's probes back to our abandoned home planet. They'll have all the space they need to start their new Candy Kingdom. But our galaxy is so far away, I won't see you again for at least 40 years.
Take care of our alien babies.
Who the slop is this?
This is my alien husband.
Astral Plane, where Finn's soul just straight up leaves his body and he kind of floats around for a while, becoming increasingly existential, pondering the origins of creativity in the face of loneliness and grief.
Yeah, girl, it's this. Do, 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 do.
Sheesh. I wonder if being a sad loner gives you more raw materials to form song ideas. Is that where creativity comes from? From sad biz?
Then flying into space to witness some space lards give birth. Oh, and also...
Oh, my blood!
What is it, boy?
Glob is dead.
I'd also like to shout out both Lemon Hope Part 1 and 2. Specifically the part where Lemongrab 1 just casually eats his clone slash brother Lemongrab 2 alive, as you do, you know. I'm sure that wasn't a traumatic core memory for some kids watching Cartoon Network after preschool on a Monday night. And also maybe the one where Jake's finger develops its own character and life entirely within a circus and sort of stretches away at night. Anyway, without further ado, Adventure Time's strangest, most bizarre episode by far. Here it is.
How natural, no waste, it is an endless chain. What an amazing, wonderful, and excellent food chain.
Where to even start with this one? I think with a lot of this episode, it's best to just show you. I watched this episode super late at night and I was very tired. Probably had like multiple assessments due that week. It was definitely a mistake. Don't do what I did. And I thought I was absolutely losing my mind watching this. The next day I rewatched the episode and I immediately understood why. This episode is of course guest animated and goes to some truly bizarre places that you would absolutely never be able to predict. It's psychedelic, it's disorientating, but honestly, it's with a very fun and creative approach. We start off the episode at the Candy Kingdom's Natural History Museum, which apparently exists, where these little triangular candy children are running around on this display. Finn and Jake are walking around, not really understanding what Princess Bubblegum is teaching to these candy children and why any part of it is important or why they should care at all. And then in this tiny moment, which if you're very tired and it's 2 in the morning, it's very easy to miss, Magic Man is there, sort of lurking in the shadows, and as Finn and Jake are walking around, he turns them into birds.
Let's hit the snack bar and eat something yummy. Hey, this is pretty fun.
Hey, have you noticed we are birds now?
And of course, as birds, they decide this is a great moment to be singing Mozart, and this is truly where everything goes down a path what I don't think I can really properly describe to you. So here it is.
Help me, Jake! My body's too bloated to fly! Here goes my din-din. Jake!
Who are you?
It's me, Finn.
Dang, when did you get so big and old? You feeling okay, bro? Wow, you have a lot of saliva. You must have a broken pipe, old-timer. It's comfy, though. Whoa! Did you just try and eat me?
No. Jake, you're missing out by not getting eaten by me. Uh-oh.
Sorry, man, I'm not into it.
Hey! Party time! So fun! Awesome. This bird went bad so well.
This is disgusting.
You know, it's interesting. Whew! I'm full. What's going on? To a plant, a day is short. Oh. Phew, they were safe now. And also caterpillars.
We're still in a bind, man. No food, no water. Hey, look. It's another caterpillar. You see? Love is blind.
I've never been this happy.
This oasis is pretty romantic, huh?
Sure, I guess.
So, how many kids you want to have?
Do you want to get married?
Yes.
And will you, Finn, take this caterpillar to be your wife?
Yes.
You may now kiss the bride.
This way,
Well, hey, why are you eating caterpillars?
This episode truly has it all. It's got some cannibalism in there, kind of. Finn gets married to a worm. What? And somehow, at the very end, they awaken back at the Natural History Museum, and the episode, of course, ends on the titular music track, Food Chain, which is a whole ballad with lights and Finn dancing and costuming, because of course it is. There is so much to be said about this show's music alone. It's truly the subject of a whole separate discussion, but this song, hilariously, slaps.
Round and round as the nature flows, it's like one big ring. Again, caterpillar eats the plant.
How natural, no waste, it is an endless chain. What an amazing, wonderful, and excellent. How harsh, not careless, it's an endless chain. What an amazing, wonderful.
What an insane episode. If you missed that tiny moment with Magic Man at the beginning, truly nothing feels like it's explained, and it still doesn't really super answer how all of this is happening, why all this is happening, and it's one that you've really sort of gotta just let take you along for the ride, I feel. But I thought it was personally really fun. Very, very unique, memorable, like I said, ending on that banger. And once again, really taking us on an absolute journey from start to end. I also really like how the episode ends where it begins, with the tiny candy children running through this play display thing, almost as a perfect loop, like to the frame, making the whole episode somewhat of an endless chain, if you will. What an experience, truly.
When we're reborn as caterpillars, I'll marry you all over again!
That's beautiful, Finn! But when we're bacteria, I might see other people!
Adventure Time is a show with surrealism at its forefront, but does so with purpose and a heart. Even at its most outlandish moments, the show is not afraid to serve its emotional center, or to deliver a strong message of sincerity that's sometimes equally profound and or dark, whilst barely a minute later presenting a joke like this.
I'm a buff baby that can dance like a man. I can shake 'em my fanny, I can shake 'em my can. I'm a tough tootin' baby, I can punch your buns. Punch your buns, I can punch all your buns. If you're an evil witch, I will punch you for fun.
Hey, there you are.
Adventure Time's team truly embraced the chaos and demonstrated the power of an ambitious team behind an animated series to go above and beyond other shows people may lump Adventure Time in with, not having seen it, through its mastery of tone, seemingly simple art style, but with great attention to detail that allows for so much of the charm of the show to shine through, and nearly flawless writing, wielding all of this to create an all the more impactful experience. I'm so glad I got the chance to see this show and its characters through to the finish, because it was truly a rewarding experience for me that I greatly enjoyed, as you can probably tell. Yeah, and it definitely gave me some degree of closure to see where the cast ended up, as I myself this year become legally an adult. Adventure Time's weirdness is definitely more carefully controlled than it may initially seem, and allows for the exploration of inherently human values, flaws, struggles, and triumphs. And despite missing out on about 8 whole seasons of this show, after watching the whole thing, I do still somewhat feel like I grew up alongside, in particular, Finn, as I'm sure many did, and similarly to how many millennials would say they identify with Harry Potter's Harry, Ron, and Hermione, growing alongside them with the books, and maybe for a little bit younger, the movies, obviously. But in many ways, Adventure Time matured alongside its audience, and did so with great respect to those who did so as well, which I think can really be reflected in this show's conclusion and the number of further ambitious mini-series later in the show's life. Despite all of this, the show is clearly timeless, and what I just said should in no way deter anyone who may not have seen particularly the way in which the show ends from enjoying it. Take it from someone who's just watched this whole thing in 2022. Adventure Time is just as relevant and impactful now as it ever has been. And I think it's pretty safe to say it is my favorite animated series of all time. It is a rare, wildly original show that I think is going to stick with me for a long time, and the whole thing is goddamn insane. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. Thanks for watching this one. Check out some of my other stuff if you enjoyed. No two things I've made this year have truly been the same, so surely there's something in there for everyone, right? All good stuff though, trust. That would be greatly appreciated. Like and subscribe and all that nonsense, maybe drop a comment, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.